Hello everybody, welcome back to the Image channel, and today, something very exciting. I'm about to do something that would normally cause problems. That is a white plane in front of the camera with that horrific flickering. So this is using the Blackmagic camera app. Completely default settings. All I've done is I've increased the FPS from 24 to 60 FPS, and I've reduced the shutter speed, which is the bit that actually fixes the flickering, or fixes the flickering even, down to 1/100, because I'm in a 50 Hz country. If you're in the States, do it as a multiple of 60. So 120 would be in this case, but it means I can put things in front of the screen and they won't flicker. That's fantastic. So the Blackmagic camera app is free on the App Store. So if you do want to do these type of videos like me, that's an option for you. So yeah, we're going to be working on the X7, or the SkySurfer, or whatever the hell it's called this week. And our first job is I want to run a servo cable from, well, in this middle section. So we're not going to use this middle section because we're going to have our servos mounted on the outside. So I want to run a wire from here all the way until it comes out the back. Actually, this is the wrong side. It's this side. So in theory, in fact, there's a slot for it. So the wire's going to come out of there, and that's going to be the wire for our receiver, so we keep the receiver well away from our video transmitter in the front. So, first things first, let's break out the control rods. Yes, kind of going off script. One of the things I kind of like about these planes, where they're not meant for FPV, you actually get the fun job of trying to modify them. So, I think what I'm going to use, if we've got any, is some control snake, I believe is the technical term. Here we go. This is the stuff. So as you can sort of tell, it's a blue tube with a yellow tube inside, and you can screw stuff into the end. So that would be used for like a throttle control maybe. I'm going to use it for something different, and there's possibly a bit of tube barrel mount in there. What I used to use this for in the past is if you had a V antenna, or any sort of other antenna, and that's this, £4.50, I think I've got 5 of these. Mount your antenna to that, mount this to the plane, and then you've got an antenna that you can take off and swap. I think it looks like your V antennas, things like that. So let's see if this is the right size. So it used to go from there, following sort of that shape, to exit out there. So it's actually, because that's the exit, longer than we even need. I think you can warm these up a little bit. So, next thing we need to do is to find a suitable extension lead. So I'm going to pause this and make sure that the flickering really isn't there. Also, can I change lenses still? Okay, that's further zoomed down. Zoom down. That's zoomed in even further. And I can jump to the front, which I'm not going to do. But there we are. Right. I really like this app. It's very advanced, but we'll slowly learn it. So, let me get a wire sorted out, and we'll go from there. Bear me one moment. Okay, so I managed to find a scrap of twisted cable that will fit in our tube, and already has a Futaba connector on the end, so that's ready to go. I've lined the tube up inside the plane. It needs to go a little bit further forward, but that's fine, that's fine, that's fine. It does stick out a little bit, so it'll be going to the side a little bit, but not enough for it to be a problem. This one goes in more or less half, so it is going to be taking up space into the other side. This one I have had to open out, I think mostly because of this splodge. And then that I need to bend and have it sticking out the top here. So I'm going to work that bend a little bit, and then I'm going to just tap glue, or spot glue, with a bit of super glue in each of these channels. What I am going to do is try and find a little bit of the plane that doesn't matter, that I will be able to, probably around here, cut a section out, glue, basically cut square out, cut that square in half, glue them back together, and make sure the super glue doesn't melt it or anything. So we'll give that a go, and I go from there. Okay, so I'm looking at trying to get this tube glued in. I've got it bent roughly right. All these bits will be fine, and we can get the bend around here. But I want to taste. I definitely don't want to taste. I want to test the super glue. So this is the cheapo Hobby King stuff, and then this is the kicker we normally use, the zip kicker. So I sacrificed a little bit of foam out of the plane, cut it in half, tried gluing it together. Step number one, it didn't melt, but I didn't know that this was out, so I was trying to fight and eventually ended up just dribbling some on. But some of the issue that we had was, well, I mean, you can see it there. It's not glued together eventually in the end. It's stuck from the foam to me quite well. So there was a bit of hope that maybe the tube to the foam would work, but foam to foam didn't. But then I remembered I hadn't sanded it. So with the old permanent grip sanding block, cut another piece out a bit further down, sanded all the pieces, glued it together, and that is solid. So I'm not sure if there was mould release or just too smooth, but sanding everything, that's really good bond. You know, that's a bond that'll do for holding the servos in, it'll do for holding this tube in. Gluing the sides together, probably use E6000 glue. Need to make sure I've got some. I probably won't, so I'll have to get some of that ordered as well as some kicker. So an expensive day at the local hobby shop, online, and on Amazon or whatever for the E6000 glue. But to be honest with you, without having the proper spray, this does kind of knacker stuff up a little bit. Yes. So, packing it all away. Not a lot, but it's done something. This is honestly the first time I've been in the workshop since the last time we were here. I may try and do a video on this camera. If not, we'll see. But till then, I'll see you next time. Bye-bye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Jigsaw Stuff channel. And today we're back with some more work on the SkySurfer. It's the day after the last video, and look what I found stashed at the back of the cupboard. I have ordered one of these and one of these, so we think this one leaks, so I need to fill that up. So we're going to get this tube glued in. I'm going to sand it so it's got some texture to the outside. I'm also going to file the nicks that we've put in. Another thing that I have noticed, which may make things slightly interesting, the slots are a different height. That's going to be fun to try and deal with. And the slot here is only on the one side, so I need to make sure there's plenty of room for that to come out of that side. So I'm glad that that is the side I have been tackling. Also, there was an E6000 plus or plus, I'm not really sure, but there it is. Ready for gluing the sides together. So, I'm going to... I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to refit this and make sure it fits just in the one half of the fuselage, including out of here. Again, use scalpel blade out for that. And then once I've done that, I will get some light sandpaper, sand it down, and then we're ready to just stick that in, as well as do whatever we want to do with that. So back in a moment once I've got this properly fitted. Okie dokie, so I've been in with the file in all these gaps. I have also roughed up the outside of the tube, as you can see, with a bit of sandpaper. I've also made a little sort of tube exit, and you can see there is a bit of a bend, which I'm going to have to fettle with a bit more. So basically ready to put it in now, because I want to concentrate on this, because this has no carbon spar down it. This has a chance of skewing or bending the fuselage, so I need to really make sure that we keep this straight. So I want all hands on deck. So essentially I'm going to make sure this bend is right to get it out there, and then once we've got that set, I'm going to dab glue into sort of these four, get it in, get it set, and then we'll fiddle with getting this in. I have had the tube in, had the fuselage halves together, and it looks all right. So that's a very good step. I haven't said previously that, you know, the whole idea of, oh, I like the idea of modifying planes that aren't necessarily meant for FPV and adding all the extra stuff in. This is basically it in terms of modifying. There will be a small bit to the canopy, but that's about it. The rest of it we're going to be going based off of that poster. So let's start getting stuff glued in. Okay, so the tube is glued in and held quite neat. Also, I'm going to cut that down as and when we need to. I'll move on to the next step. I'm actually following the instructions where we're testing the servos and gluing the wood in. So I've tested the servos both in the slot tight fit but do fit. Oh, this label is a little bit knackered. I'll probably take them off just to make life a bit easier. I have used this file, because of its bend, to file this section, get it rough. I've used a sanding block, good old perma grip, on the plywood all the way around the edges. You can see sort of all the burnt has mostly come off. So they're ready for gluing in, and because of how strong that seems to be in, I'm going to use this again with the old kicker. So just a bit around here. There is a bit of me that's thinking, should I put Vaseline on the servos and install the servos? The reason I say this is that it stops the hole getting full up of glue that I think I'll try and chisel out and possibly rip this out. I think I'm going to do that. I'm going to take the labels off, Vaseline them up, screw them in, and yeah, away we go, I guess. Okie dokie, so I have fitted, not glued, but fitted the servos, and you might see one side, actually both sides have swanky bolts from Model Fixings. They are Allen key, as opposed to sort of little crosshead ones like these, because I lost two of them. So I've got both the same. What I did have to do, I've got a sew in here to show you. I'll show you through the bag. Come on. Hopefully editing me takes that bit out. So you see how the holes are sort of holes. They have a bit of a slot to them, but they are holes and go thinner. I basically made it so they were slots on either side of the knife, just sort of nicked either side of this. Made sure the servos are mounted all the way further forward as you can get, and of course you have to make sure the arms are coming out the bottom. So now, essentially, it's glue it in time. So try and sort of get these out and try and get them back in without getting glue everywhere. Again, we're going to use thick super glue from Hobby King and then Zap Kicker. Get it glued in. We've got some lead weights on the shelf. We're going to get them and just sort of put one here on both sides. Get that glued in, and then that is the elevator servos in. That is the first 2 boxes done. And then it talks about gluing the fuselage together. Okay, I don't think at any point it mentions what to do with the wood. So, need to remember to do that. I'm not sure if following the guide is necessarily a good idea, but anyway, let's get some LED even, weights over, and get some glue slapped about and see where we go from there. Okay, so they don't look much different, but they are now glued in, and they are absolutely rock solid, so super happy about that. Over here, we've got the next bit. So basically it now says just glue the fuselage together, but we've got a load of wood bits that we need to put in the middle. So not the best thing to immediately go and do that. So what I'm doing here, as you can see, these are the same parts. I've sanded all of it. I've sanded around the edges of these. I'm not bothered around the edges of them, that they don't really matter, but edges of them to help glue them in. And what I'm going to do, and this is technically the wrong way to use it, but it's the easiest way to get it straight. I'm going to use these to make sure they're nice and straight. I'm going to super glue them in, and I'm doing opposite so I can get them, as long as they're straight in one direction, you should be able to get it straight when they go together. So there's that. I'm going to be using the thin Hobby King super glue for that, so it'll wick into the plywood. And I probably don't need to use any kicker. Grease with paper on the desk to stop stuff gluing to it. That was mostly for the servos. With these, I didn't end up using the lead weights in the end because they actually sort of, the servo arm sticks through and hits the table, so I just held them until they went off for just like a couple of minutes or so to make sure they're rock solid. So let's get these glued, and then I'll probably just slap them together and get them glued, and then when I'm ready, I'll just glue them in one side to begin with, and then we've got all the motor mounty stuff to do as well. In fact, I'll probably have this as the, no, I'll put the wood on this side, and then it sort of evens out the weight a little bit, because there is some weight starting to get in this thing. I'm starting to get parts in. So yeah, let me get these, make sure these are 90 degrees, get them glued, and then assemble into a full box, and then we can look at what we're doing with this motor mount, because I don't fully know. Well, clearly I am a massive oaf. Not only have I managed to glue that wrong, so it's sticking the wrong side, but I have also managed to mute the microphone. I'm pointing over there for some reason. I've muted the microphone on my phone at this point. So, yeah, so this is voiceover. This is after that. So, yes, I'm going to have to obviously take that apart. It's very hard to edit when you've got no audio cues, so I could probably cut out some of this, but never mind. I've done all the video editing. Luckily, you don't have too long left. What, 4 or 5 minutes? So yeah, so what I need to do is I need to take that bit apart and glue it back in, like so. Look at that. Look at that. With perfect timing. Looks good. So now what I'm talking about is putting that in there. I'm not sure I've actually sanded it in there yet. I know I took a knife and sort of there's some like little dots sticking out from the moulding process. I have removed them. But I am pointing at nothing while I try and get that fitted in. It is a very tight fit. I'm also speaking slightly ASMR because it's quite late at night. I'm just trying to get this done out of the way. So we need to get that glued in and held down. I'm going to be using super glue on sort of all the wooden bits, thin to stick the bits of wood together, but then using thick to stick it in. So I believe at this point I have been in and sanded. Yes, there we are. I have used, am I going to show it? Yes, I've used this file with the sort of 45-degree end on. I've also given the wooden bit another sand with the sanding block. So it's all ready to go. Just need to make sure that that's in and lined up. Slapped a bunch of the thick super glue around, bit of kick around it, and that should be in. So moving on to the motor now, I've had to use my own nuts and bolts, or washers and bolts to get it bolted on, for model fixings. I'm not sure if I've said this or not, but at one point I've had to use different screws on the servos because I lost some of them and whatever. So I need to try and get these. So there's 2 on the top and 2 at the bottom being where the wires are there. So what I'm having to do is I'm having to sand, as you can sort of see by the fact that they're a slightly strange shape, to get around the washers and the nuts and also get around that nubbin there. I'm doing a cracking job of this if I do say so myself. So we're having to get that having to sort of glue bits together. So there's, as I say, there's 4 bits, there's 2 either side. I'm hunting for something. Oh, the blue screws. I think those blue screws are meant to hold the motor in, but you need the cross bracket, which I'm not using because I'm using a bigger motor, I guess. Or at least certainly a different cross thing. The motors didn't come with a cross, from what I remember, even though there was room in the packaging for them. So yeah, we need to get all these bits glued together. They're going to be thin super glue, I believe, to get them together with some more kicker. Just a load of trial and error even, setting the bits together to fit, and get it all glued, and then get that sandwich in there with the wire sticking at the bottom. Now, I'm not sure if I'm going to highlight this later or not, because I didn't watch this before trying to comment over it, but I have noticed that the speed controller... Oh, I'm talking about possibly putting a door in there. I decided not to do that. I'm just going to put the speed controller in before we put the sides together. You can get to the wires through the air hole at the bottom, to the left of where the wires are, and if needed, because this is going to be running a 6x4 prop, which is what we use on mini quads, I have got clockwise and anti-clockwise propellers to run, so I'm just going to do red to red, yellow to yellow, black to black. And yeah, so I've not said it already, I have glued that blue pipe in, and we'll do the wire towards the end of the video. Don't know what I'm making about. Oh, here we go. Right, so what's happening now? So I'm moving that to one side. I have managed to get the wood to fit, and now I fit it in there. It's actually right. I don't need to cut out any of that foam. I was wondering if I was going to have to cut that sort of foam nub in the middle. I had to be careful what I said then, but that's fine. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the thick super glue to sort of glue it in one side like that. And then when we glue the sides together, I'm going to use thick super glue on the wooden bits. Well, first of all, we're going to apply easy access to all the foam, then thick super glue on the foam bits after roughing them up, and then we'll be able to glue everything together. Probably speaking now about having to run all the wires through to the front and more complicated stuff. I think that's me saying we're not going to put a door in. There's really not much point, and we can get to it if push comes to the shove. As I say, got that air hole there, as well as being able to sort of reach around from the front. This is very weird commentating myself. It's different when I play video games. So yes, we're going to make sure that's glued in. And we need to saw off that tube so it's nice and flat. And sat nice. Yeah, don't know what I'd be saying right now. We've got a little bit of time before the clip changes. But yeah, I mean, at some point I do realise that I've actually put that blue pipe in. It's a little short. Not sure if I've done that already or not, but we'll have to run that through to the front. So at some point I've got stuff to do in the next clip. Transition. And nothing has changed. But at least the flickering of the wire isn't working. Yes, I may have cocked up the microphone. That is showing you that it's very in line with the foam. That is now glued in. Make sure I got it nice and straight, as you can see by how it lined up with the foam there. If needed, go back. So, yes, pointing at the blue thing again. About to change clip. And there we are. Really, really knackered crap blade, but I did manage to cut it, and it is sort of now flush with the top of the plane when we put the bits together. So that is the wire in and the S-bus thing connected. Sorry about that, I got disturbed. So yeah, the cable is now through the tube, and we've connected it up to the S-bus decoder. That's where I'm pointing out that I should have made the tube longer, but never mind. Never mind, ladies and gentlemen. It's in there now, it's fixed, it's done. So yeah, we could have the all the way at the front, we could have all the way at the back, especially because I'm not going to make that door. Plenty of cable out the back. Very glad I was actually going to cut that off just to reduce the weight, and I didn't. Very glad that I didn't, so that we can make sure the wire gets to the right place. We can have as long as we want. Again, the receiver can go in the front, it can go in that back part, it can go under the servos. Plenty of options, really. And as I say, the sides are getting heavier and heavier, but we're making sure that everything's going to fit where we want it to fit. And in the olden days, that is what we did. So yeah, that is the two sides together with the cable coming out. It looks quite good. Might try and fill in a little bit of that front piece, just so it's a little bit less blue. But yeah, that's basically what's going to go together. I mean, in the good old days, I believe I was telling this anecdote as well this time, when you were modifying models that weren't built for FPV, a lot of what you did was you placed all the components in while there was two halves. Get all Velcroed in, get the Velcro spots in right next to each spot where the, what part it was that went on that bit of Velcro. So that you knew that when you glued it together, you had everything right, because it's a lot harder to cut out bits of foam or channel things out, especially because these models would have been in loads of separate different pieces, and you'd have to sort of channel out, like that section near where my hands are, channel that out to get cables through. But yeah, it's going to be a bit of a nightmare gluing this fuselage together, because we're going to have that much cables to look after. We've got two servos, we've got the S-bus cable. I was debating at this point about whether to possibly put in, I'm saying you could put a GPS there. I'm thinking for in the future, if I do want to make this as more of a test bed, there are options. One of the problems that I have got, and I believe that's what I'm saying now, is that we've got 3 wires running through that tube, which means we can use S-bus, because we've got power, as in plus, minus, and signal. But if we want to do crossfire, we obviously need a 4th wire. I was thinking about possibly running an old 35 meg antenna through that to do, so we could run it on crossfire in the future if we wanted to, but I just kind of went, nah, because it's probably going to be kept as a bit of a basher play in this. And as I say in all the descriptions of these videos, if you want one of these, yeah, you can't do the modification like I've done there, but a Bixler. Actually, I'm not sure if the kit Bixler comes in 2 halves or not. I've always bought them ARF. But yeah, God knows what I'm waffling on about now. There's a wire. So yeah, there's lots of wire at the back, but we'll tune that as and when that is done. We are heading towards the end. What I will say before I forget and run out of time on the video clip is, if you enjoyed, please hit the like button. Helps a lot. Remember to subscribe if you are new to the channel, like this kind of thing, hopefully with actual live commentary. Any questions, comments, feedback, please leave that below. And yeah, we're going to pack up and tidy for the night. I needed to order some kicker, or we've got some new kicker coming, which has now arrived, so we can actually use a nice new bottle. But that's a thumbs up, give the video a like, and anyway, yes, I'll see you all next time. Bye bye.